before Alex Murdaugh testified, the clerk of court went into, according to the jurors' affidavits, went into the jury room and said, don't be fooled by him, be careful, watch his body language, in so many words saying, don't believe him.
Stunning allegations by Alex Murdaugh's defense team alleging that the court clerk influenced the jury during his murder trial and pressured that jury into a guilty verdict. Murdaugh is serving life in prison for the murders of his wife Maggie and son Paul in 2021. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Jurors found him guilty of first-degree murder after less than 3 hours. Now his defense is asking for a new trial and a federal investigation into that clerk and her conduct.
I've been doing this almost 50 years. The bedrock of any trial, and I've done hundreds of them, is that the clerk of court is the person that makes sure the jury gets their food. If they're put up for the night, someplace to stay, their travel accommodations are met. They're not someone that ever should talk to them about the case. I've never had it happen.
The South Carolina Attorney General now says we are currently reviewing the defense's latest motion and will respond through the legal process at the appropriate time. Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Joshua Ritter is with us. He's also the host of the True Crime Daily Sidebar podcast. Okay, this is pretty mind-blowing. I mean, if this is true, if the claims are true about the clerk, that she was operating outside of her purview and her duties, if that is the case, is this a slam dunk for the defense? Do they get a new trial?
I think that they do. I can't imagine a way where they wouldn't at least get an evidentiary hearing in front of that judge to try to see and get to the bottom of these charges. You're absolutely right. It is shocking, to say the least. I remember when these reports first came out that they were challenging the integrity of the jury. I thought, okay, this is just kind of par for the course. Usually the defense will make some sort of argument. It has to do with something. Maybe they saw a media report, a newspaper clipping that they shouldn't have seen. Then you begin to find out it has to do with misconduct by the clerk. That's a little more interesting. And then you find out that they have sworn affidavits from the jurors saying that they were pressured in this type of way. That is, bombshell type stuff, not to overuse that phrase, but I would be shocked if this doesn't lead to some sort of evidentiary hearing and perhaps even, like you said, a new trial for Murdaugh.
So the timing of this, what should we expect next and how soon might we see some action?
Next, it would be that evidentiary hearing. I imagine that's what they requested by the judge. I can't imagine that they're not going to get some sort of day in court when they've already done a lot of the groundwork for this. They've already done some of the investigation. This isn't just blanket accusations. They have these sworn affidavits. I can't imagine the judge not calling for a hearing where they're brought in and then put under sworn testimony. How quickly that will happen is hard to tell at this point, but I don't imagine this is something they're going to sit on for long.
So this clerk may be getting a legal defense of her own. They want a federal investigation now into her actions and her conduct during the case. What would that involve? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a really interesting part of all of this is they're asking for the federal government to get involved because they're alleging that she acted under what's called color of law in her duty. She's an elected official, and part of her duties is preventing something exactly like this. She is supposed to be in charge of the integrity of the jurors to make sure that they don't have contact with anyone, especially in regards to their thoughts about the guilt or innocence of the case that they're proceeding over. So they're saying that she violated, as an elected official, acting under color of law, violated those duties. It's hard to imagine that the AG would not give that a second look.
And if that's true, could she also face criminal charges?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about a federal investigation that could possibly lead to criminal charges. And you're talking about if she influenced this jury inappropriately, and that led to the conviction of a man for murder who's now serving a life sentence. Those are huge stakes. And so this is something very serious.
And how complicated is this, Josh? Because this was such a high-profile case. Seating a jury in that area where everyone knew about the case was a challenge in and of itself. To have to go through and do that again after a guilty verdict gets pretty messy.
It's an absolute nightmare for the prosecution. I mean, yes, that first trial was a tremendous undertaking. It controlled their lives in that community for that long period of time. And with the prospect now, and a very real prospect of them having to go through all of that again, it's an absolute nightmare. I imagine there's a lot of sleepless nights taking place in that prosecutor's office.
Yeah, thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.